Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Blueprint Podcast. My name is Gary. I am the creative director here at Capital Content. I'm going to be your host for today. The Blueprint is all about teaching people how to be better at marketing. You know, we are a few episodes in now. We have the in real life events and we have a whole bunch of online events that you can catch on the website too. Today, we are talking about marketing careers or how to progress in a marketing career or even how to get started. I am joined by Catherine from Freshbat. Catherine, how are you?
I am great. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Cool. Thanks very much for joining. We actually know each other, I think, client side. Yes. Are you ex-Newton as well?
Yes.
You are ex-Newton.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So for the listeners at home, well, one of our clients is Newton, who are kind of a large consultancy firm, right? We've been working with Newton probably for the last 6 years and we love them. We do loads of content across all of their sectors. And then I think you actually moved to Doverbrooks.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Right.
Into
and then
education.
and so that was yourself and Sophie.
Yes.
So we've worked with each other in a number of different logos.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But now, before we crack on with today's topic, let's talk about your current iteration. So I think you are you started Freshbat?
I did, yes. So after my role at Doverbrooks, where I was the head of marketing, I decided to step out on my own and do my own thing, just kind of mid-pandemic, I guess.
Yep.
And I am now the director of Freshbat, which is a strategic marketing agency.
Cool. When you say strategic marketing agency, what do you mean?
So yeah, it can be a really confusing term. Lots of people don't get quite what we do, but essentially we act as an outsourced marketing department and we mainly work with B2B professional services businesses. So coaches, consultants, accountants, finance, law, all those kind of lovely sectors. Yeah,
it must be tough, right? Because I think professional services, and we spoke about this in actually the last episode that was about professional services, funnily enough.
Yeah.
It's difficult for those organizations because they tend to be they don't tend to have any marketing department, right?
Yes.
It's a bit like like an estate agent, for example. They're all salespeople.
Sure.
There's very few agencies out there that have a marketing person in there because they're sales led.
Yeah.
And I think with professional services, they're very analytical.
Yeah.
They're very numbers led and not crayons.
Yeah. And they're typically as well run by people who are very passionate and very expert at what they do. So they might be expert at, leadership, coaching, for example. But, it's like we always say as business owners and running a business and working in a business, you want to really focus in on the things that you are good at and your zone of genius and not actually trying to spread yourself too thin and do loads and loads of different things because you're just wearing so many hats and marketing is such a big undertaking for any business, especially ones that are growing. Yeah. That's kind of where we come in and
I
take
hear
it all
the time, like, so how do you manage your marketing? Or how big is your marketing department? Oh, yeah, we post on Instagram. Cool. Okay, great. Yeah. So what you're saying is you do that, but you also do the strategy as well, right?
Yeah.
You become that department. You work as a partner for these professional services because they might not have a full department. They might be a one person band marketing department, right? And they need to outsource some of that extra activity. Yeah.
So we usually come in and have a full look at their marketing and their processes and their resourcing and everything kind of. So rather than just being really transactional, so them saying, oh, we want 3 posts on Instagram a week, we actually come in and give that direction because we find that's one of the things that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of thinking time and it's the bit that actually delays people. Actually doing the posting is fine, but is it actually working for you? Is it getting you any results? How is it tying into your wider business objectives?
Absolutely.
And that's what we look at.
Purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So today's topic is just slightly different, right? Because all the other episodes are about the certain disciplines, right? Email marketing, e-commerce, all of that kind of stuff, right? But this one is how to get into a marketing career.
Yeah.
How did you get into your marketing career? I think my journey is going to be very different. I'll explain mine after. But so how before we kind of give all tips and tricks and the best practices, how did you get into marketing?
Right. So
so it sounds like it's about to be a big...
There's a story. No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's that interesting, but I suppose, it's a story. So it's interesting. Yeah. So I actually studied languages at university. Okay. So if we go back and start that way. And I what I loved about that was traveling around the world, like speaking to different people, getting to know different cultures. And I've always loved that. And then I actually decided I didn't want to be a teacher or a translator because they're the two things people ask you if you study languages. They're like, are you going to be a teacher or translator? No, neither. I'm not going to do either of those things. And And then I ended up working in higher education. So I worked, first of all, for De Montfort University in Leicester, and then a couple of other universities after that in international student recruitment. Right. So actually, by nature, it's kind of a sales role, or field marketing maybe is a good way of describing it. So I would travel
it's like
around.
A human-to-human thing here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would be working with marketing departments, but I would be the one going out building relationships with colleges and universities. Okay, cool. I actually did the Americas to start with, which is a fantastic region.
Wow,
so I traveled all over North and South America and the Caribbean as well. Managed to swing that one at one university.
Amazing. There's definitely a university in the Caribbean that I need to go look at.
There are, and I definitely ended up in the Bahamas in an all-inclusive resort, and I was like, well, I have to stay in an all-inclusive because it's the only hotel available. Probably. But we did get some results from it, interestingly. But right. So I did that for a bit, and then I finished I did that for a few years, and it got quite exhausting. Everyone says, it must be so glamorous, traveling around the world. But, I was going to all sorts of places, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, India. Like, some of these places are really great to travel to on holiday, but I was doing business travel. So, it got exhausting.
Yeah, a lot of airport lounges, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I decided when I was in that final job in that part of my career that I had a lot of transferable skills. I was really interested in the marketing bits because we would do brochures and printed materials, banners, email marketing. So there was a lot of crossover there already. Yeah, sure. And then I actually did my Chartered Institute of Marketing professional diploma. Okay. So that was how I kind of decided to qualify in marketing. Because obviously I didn't have a marketing degree. So I had the skills, but not necessarily the credentials.
Absolutely. And I think back to the topic, the employers do look at that. Now, maybe even legacy employers, right? Yeah. I think the old timers, the Martin Sorrells of the world will look at your degree certificate.
Yeah. And the reality is you can learn a lot of it by doing. And actually, I can talk about this a bit later, but we have a number of interns who come through Freshbat as well. It's basically how I'm building my business because it's so hard to recruit that actually getting a good internship program is brilliant for everyone. But it's about kind of having that credibility. And even though you can actually do the marketing and you can learn by doing, sometimes it's just that kind of that sign that you've got that Chartered Institute of Marketing accreditation or something. It certainly helped me when I started Freshbat and I was completely on my own, just like, right, I can do any marketing for anyone. Yes. Terrible, never do that. No, but we all go through it.
It's what do they call it? A trust builder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not a little logo on your website. I don't want to diminish whatever you put through, right? But it is that ability to put that CIM next to your name on LinkedIn, for example, or put it as a logo on your website that instantly builds trust when you don't have any archive, any content on the website to be able to deliver that trust.
Yeah,
right?
you haven't already proven your ability. So kind of like that kind of qualification is one way of many to actually show you have that expertise. Yeah. So I did that. And then I moved into an employer brand role, which is the role I did at Newton. And
so that's quite different. The employer side of it, right? Where you, and we don't manage any of that content. We do all the sectors, for example. So the employer brand is slightly outside of what we do. We can do, but we don't do it. And that is actually a very different conversation to have with your audience or your demographic, because there's very much probably what you did for the universities thing, where you're talking human to human to the student or the grad. Yeah,
and you're selling a program, a job. Yeah. It was quite a good crossover for me, actually going from student recruitment, doing my qualification in marketing, and then actually that was my first proper marketing role, but it was still very closely aligned to recruitment. Yeah. And it was interesting for me because I was at the other end. So before I had been recruiting kind of school level people, sometimes into postgrad degrees, but mainly into undergraduate degrees. Yeah. So 18-year-olds into the university. And this time I was working a lot on the side where I was recruiting and doing the marketing to recruit people from university into their first job.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So now you've kind of seen that whole journey.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. So on the CIM side.
Yes.
What is that? Give me is that like 3 years full time, or is it kind of like a part time?
Fortunately not.
Is it kind of open university style?
Yes, so it's much more like the Open University. So it is. So what I did was a diploma. So it's a level 6 diploma. It's equivalent to an undergraduate degree. Okay. They do also do kind of level 4 and 5s, and they also do level 7 postgraduate diplomas. But I thought the level 6 one was the one I needed for kind of the credibility and the kind of foundational theory in marketing, actually, because often we do draw on the theory when we're trying something new with a client. Yeah. And it's really important to have that as well as the practical experience. But I studied it in a year. I did it quite quickly. Cool. I was very motivated. So I did it, but I did it in the evenings. I was working my full-time job and traveling, obviously for 12 weeks of the year at the same time.
So it's definitely accessible.
It's
not like you've got to dedicate a whole bunch of time and go, oh, actually, it's really, I'm just doing it to get that CIM across my name.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And my top tip for anyone who is doing it, so it's all assessed. You do kind of 3 modules and it's assessed in assignments. Do check the marking scheme because that is where they will assign all the points. So if you write your assignment,
there's your strategy coming out.
Literally, it's very straightforward. Just check the marking scheme and the assessment criteria, write your assignment according to that. It'll be fine.
Gosh, that is a great top tip for you there.
It is a top tip.
Okay, cool. So let's think we've got a bunch of different audiences. All three people, right? There's 3 different age groups that are listening right now. I think the first one, let's talk about school leavers.
Yes.
Right. To be able to get into a marketing career. It's very difficult, I think, for people that don't have any marketing experience to get into marketing.
Yes.
I had the same thing where I was a salesperson. I left school at 16 and I was in global corporate sales for 10, 15 years for a tech company, for Vodafone, right?
Okay.
And I was a creative by heart and a bit of a stoner. And I had a stolen copy of Photoshop. And basically, that's my origin story of how to start an agency. And I think that's a lot of agencies start like that, where they had, a ripped copy from LimeWire of Photoshop. Yeah. And then now they run an agency with a football table and fake grass.
You are showing your age with the LimeWire reference.
I know, right? Yeah. So that's how I started the agency. I managed to progress my career over 10, 15 years, lived in NZ for 10 and moved from global corporate sales into marketing when I ran an agency over there and then started one back here. But starting as, a school leaver before they go to college or university, or even, they may choose not to, because I didn't, and I'm here, right? What are some tips? What's some advice you would give to people that are about to embark on their marketing career or would like to embark on a marketing career? Because they haven't really chosen subject. I don't know what the subjects are like nowadays at school. I'm assuming they can't take marketing.
They're still all very
subjects.
Academic.
Okay, cool.
So
there's not like marketing strategy as a GCSE,
No,
right?
you can sort of, I think the closest you get would be, say, business. Business studies, something like that.
Right.
But I would also say that's not necessary. So marketing is about, I didn't have any formal business training at all. When I started Freshbat, I was just like, oh my God, I had to go to so many networking groups, read so many books, look at so many
That's what you thought you needed
resources.
to do.
Yeah. And actually to learn all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot by doing. So I think for anyone who's leaving school and maybe doesn't want to go to university, because it is horrendously expensive and you've got no guarantee of earning any more money anyway. Like I saw some stats yesterday that was like basically, unless you're going into medicine or something.
That's right. You're basically starting 50 grand down on day one, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, great if you want to do it, but if you don't, also great.
Yeah.
And I would say, don't write anything off is my first tip. Throw yourself into everything. What we do with our interns when they come through, so often they are coming from a marketing degree or a business degree, but we try and have a structure for them during their internship program with us where they actually cover loads of different areas of marketing. So we will get them on social media. We will get them doing video content. We will get them doing reporting. We will do copywriting. We will do website editing, blogs, SEO,
design,
everything that we would kind of offer as an outsourced marketing department for a client. We get them to do it and then actually have that conversation with them so they get to try everything. So I would encourage anyone doing that to really throw yourself into it and just try everything. You won't be good at most of it.
Yeah.
And that's
and you
absolutely
won't like
fine.
Most of it.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to like it.
Yeah. And do you know what? Marketing is such a broad term. Getting into a marketing career.
Huge,
oh God. Yeah. Actually, what we're talking about is there are about 50 different disciplines
within marketing
that you can niche and specialize in. We in particular do 5 of them, right?
Yes.
So if you were to come and work for us, we are only ever going to do social media, graphic design, video content, audio production, and live streaming. Right. So that's, and that's just digital. There's obviously also print and outdoor and, out of home, all that kind of stuff.
And there's the whole advertising sphere as well, which we don't really cover. Like we would outsource that to other people if we were recommending it. But
and I think that's a great tip, is to try a little bit of everything early on to see if you do like the technical side or the design side or being in front of the camera versus being behind the camera kind of stuff. Right. I did a talk. This is the second time I've mentioned Becky Sims from Reflect Digital in 2 podcasts. I did a talk for their kind of like careers event over at Maidstone Grammar School for Girls.
Oh, nice.
And it was actually how to make the most of LinkedIn. The audience was school leavers or college grads, I think, about or wanting to know about a career in marketing.
Yeah.
It was all these different talks throughout the day to kind of learn the different aspects and disciplines and stuff. And I think the talk that I did around LinkedIn for school leavers or for these kids, really, because I am definitely the age of their dads. They overlooked LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I asked the question, who's got a LinkedIn page right now? And about 3 out of 500.
It's not very trendy, is it?
Oh God, no, it's definitely not TikTok, right? So whereas I actually love it, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, right?
I love it too.
And I think that's quite important. As a tip that I would give is to think about LinkedIn straight away.
Yes, I agree.
That personal brand, for want of a better buzzword, that is really important over LinkedIn, especially when trying to get in front of the right people.
Yeah, and I think the advice I'd give for anyone leaving school as well is, and it's one of the classic things that we always think about in marketing. So if you're looking at marketing careers anyway, you need to know this and understand this and fundamentally embrace this to your core, which is understand your audience. So if you're trying to position yourself as going for, say, like an apprenticeship's a really good option, or an internship, or even just applying for a job, you need to go where your audience is. And the reality is a lot of hirers at the moment are not on TikTok.
No.
So you might love it. You might have, millions or hundreds of thousands of followers on there, but are any of them going to give you a job and an opportunity? I don't know. If you've got that many followers, you're probably an influencer anyway, but
that's right. It can certainly help or not help your career if you have a personal brand on TikTok or Snapchat,
because you've clearly got a skill
set
there. Absolutely. Which is great.
But I think, even just start creating content or think about a strategy for LinkedIn as a school leaver, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to get you ahead of the game. You will be the top 1% of that crowd.
It's your online CV.
Oh God, yeah.
That's it. It's your digital CV that's actually much more easy to update and much easier to bring your personality through.
Yeah, you're in control as well, right?
Yeah.
And there's that reactive thing, right? Where if you did send in your CV or you did apply for a role, the first thing that recruiter is going to do, or head of HR, whatever it might be, is go check out your LinkedIn page. They're going to Google your name, and you need to take control of that narrative and make sure that your LinkedIn page is that first listing and not your Snapchat.
But the other thing as well is that you don't know. So a lot of small business owners, and small businesses can be up to, I think technically an SME is up to like 500 people. Yeah. But if you're thinking like even the 10 to 50 mark, or even, we're a little bit smaller than that, but approaching the 10 at Freshbat.
Yeah.
You don't know. I might know in my head as the business owner and the hiring manager that in a few months' time, I'm going to want more resource in this particular area. And I might think, a school leaver would be great, an apprentice, an intern, whatever. But I might not advertise it. So don't forget about the jobs that aren't advertised, because for small businesses, it's very expensive to go through a recruiter or advertise, and you get so much dross through. You actually want
especially in marketing, right?
Because anyone thinks they can do it.
Yeah,
the barrier for entry is so low.
Yeah, that's right. I need a social media manager. Bosh, 300
Everyone's
applications.
like, I've got a Facebook account. Like, okay, fine. But it's about that playing that long game as well, because you might be making connections now when you're 16, 17, 18 with people who then in 2 or 3 years' time might offer you a job.
Yes.
It's not necessarily going to be the right here, right now.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to all those long organic marketing principles that we always bang on about at Freshbat.
You've got to market yourself.
Yeah,
right? It's absolutely marketing yourself. So that's a good segue. Let's go into progressing your career currently in marketing, right? So I think this is probably where the majority of our audience is going to be, where they're already in marketing, and there was, over the last few years, the big resignation. Right,
yes.
Everyone was sitting at home and went, "Holy shit, I hate my job." They just realised out of the cloud
that was basically me.
Yeah, that was the cloud that was the office.
Yes.
And they've gone, "Oh God, actually, I really hate it." So now people are starting to change jobs. Yeah. I tend to see a lot of, "Hey, I've got this new job. I've got this new job" on LinkedIn. It just comes up every day.
Yeah.
Another person's got another job. And I think now there's not so much of a worry anymore about only being in a job for a few months.
Yeah.
That job hopping thing is more, "Oh no, look after yourself, bro."
I was going to say this. I actually would have fit the older definition of job hopping because the longest job I held before being the director of my own company was 18 months,
right?
Which still sounds like actually quite a long time nowadays. But like at that time, you know, my parents and that generation are very much years. Like, you've been in a job for less than 5 years. Oh, suspicious.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore. I think a lot of us as well as managers understand that, you know, sometimes jobs suck and it's actually life is far too short to stay in a job you absolutely despise.
No.
Because, you know, you have to spend, and this is kind of what I think about with Freshbat and our team as we grow and the company culture is you have to spend so long at work, like unbelievable amount of your life is spent at work.
Yeah.
So you might as well have fun and enjoy it as much as possible. Work will always suck sometimes. It will always sometimes suck, but even in the best workplaces.
Yeah.
But you have to do what you love.
Spend more time with my team at work than I do with my wife and kids.
Exactly.
And actually half my team could be the age of my kids as well. So it is like being their dads, right? I've mentioned that a couple of times now. But I think that, you know, there are probably a whole bunch of stuff, right, that people can do to help progress their career in marketing.
Yeah.
But I think it probably goes back to that original statement where people have tried every discipline, or you should try every discipline.
Yeah.
And I think it's good, or my advice would be to look at sidestepping.
Yes.
As well as trying to climb the corporate ladder kind of thing, right?
I think don't be afraid to sidestep. If you want to, because sometimes that's what you have to do. Again, go back to playing the long game, thinking actually it's really worth sitting down and doing. I'm really big into like visualizations. I don't know how many people are, but like I love them. I think they're really powerful. And actually taking some time, you know, every 6 months or so to sit down and visualize, where do you want to be in 5 years? I ask my team this. I ask my interns this. What do you want to do in 5 years? And they look at me like, what? 5 years is a lifetime. And you know, it's not though. It's really not.
No, that's
and actually, if they want to, if they think about it and you're suddenly like, I don't see myself in marketing at all, then just make the change now. You know, there's no point faffing around.
No, that's right.
But if you want to do something specialist, then actually you can start working back. What are those steps? What are those moves you need to make to get there? Maybe it's a different sector. Maybe it's a different agency.
On one of my very first interviews coming out of school, I went to a recruitment agent and they put me forward for a couple of interviews. And at the time I played in a band and I thought I was going to be famous, right? But I was obviously getting a job because deep down I wasn't going to be famous. And so they would say, oh, so, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And I would often say miming on Top of the Pops, but jokingly. Obviously never got a job, right? Because they assumed that I was making a joke, but actually my priorities were elsewhere, right? And also one other thing, slightly off topic, my very first interview, the recruitment agent put me in there. She goes, oh, what? When I went for the interview, she said to me, oh, so why have you applied for this job? I was like, well, the recruiter told me to be here at 1 o'clock today. Cool. Yeah, I definitely didn't get that one.
Nice.
So look, I think we could talk for ages about how to progress your career. And there's loads of different paths, right? You don't have to have formal education. I don't have any formal education. I run an agency. And you on the other side, you've got your CIM and you've been in marketing the entire time. And you run your own agency. So there's loads of different routes. I think the key thing is you don't have to have your shit together either.
No.
Right? You don't have to know where you are in 5 years' time. It's okay. I didn't start the agency. I didn't get into marketing until 10 years ago. And I've only run the agency for about 6.5 years. And I'm 42, right? So it's like, you can start late. You don't have to start at 16. You can start at 30.
And it's very easy on social media. I find this exceptionally irritating, but to see all of the people on even LinkedIn or TikTok or wherever who are like, oh yes, we make like £1 million a week or whatever. And I'm 23. Like, so what? Actually, probably it's a lie. And secondly, like, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Like you do you.
Yeah, that's right. Age versus stage, right? Which you don't need to do is why I bring that up. So give me one piece of advice, you know, your biggest tip in terms of career progression, getting into marketing. What is the one thing, you know, the biggest nugget that you can give us? Them.
I think that one of the best things you can do is keep a note of your achievements.
Oh, yes. Evidence.
Evidence. Like, I think it doesn't matter what your education is, what your background is. If you can prove that you have delivered results in any area, even if you hated it at the time, you can be honest about that as well.
This is great advice.
Kind of a secondary point.
I was taught that at Vodafone, in the early stages of Vodafone, like 20 years ago now. They had the thing called the Pig X scale.
Yes.
Poor, needs improving, good, exceeding, exceptional. And to get exceptional, one, you would get like 150% of your bonus or whatever it was. But over the year, you had to collect evidence to prove the fact that you were exceptional.
Yes.
So I was taught that very early on. And that is a massive piece of advice, is to physically have that evidence. We used to print off emails of like recommendations or reviews about us and how we worked. So on that last day of the review process, I could say, this is a massive folder of bits of paper that show my evidence.
And it's not only is it good for other people to see, but it's also great for you and your mindset. And I love talking about mindset. And I actually ended up starting my agency following a big burnout from my previous job. So I got to the point where I couldn't do it. I basically like lost my shit. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I resigned. And then I was like, well, now I'm going to start an agency, lol.
A phoenix from the flames, right?
Yeah, like, and actually, but what's really important when you're going through those tough times, because you're always going to get those ups and downs throughout your career, is actually having that evidence, not only to prove your value to a future employer or someone you're going to work with or a client, but also for you to look back on and say, actually, yeah, I'm really good at this, or I did actually really achieve something.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us fall into the trap of like, we're in this world where you have to be so productive all the time. And actually sometimes, some days, just a really small thing is fine. I have a 4-month-old baby, and I am at the moment, the days I'm in, I am like, I have one thing to do. So yesterday, my task was I had to write a case study for one of a client. And as soon as I'd done that, I was like, that's what I'm going to focus on. I had lots of other things to do as well, but I didn't write a list of 20 things because I'm never going to complete it. I just wrote one thing and then I did it in 20 minutes. And, you know, then it's done. And then I feel like I've achieved that. So I can say to myself, I did a great job yesterday.
I achieved. I achieved. Regardless of how small or big it is.
Exactly.
Right? Amazing. Right, I'm definitely going to go and progress my career in marketing. How do people get in touch with Freshbat? They want to talk about their strategic marketing department. So
we are very focused now on LinkedIn. We have been doing a lot of reflection. I have been doing a lot of reflection since I came back from my very short maternity leave on how we're moving forward. So LinkedIn is a great way. If anyone wants to follow, connect with me, that'd be amazing. I obviously just love to chat and like meet new people and stuff. So give us a follow. And also we have our company page on LinkedIn, which has more kind of generics, strategy updates and things.
Cool, man.
Also our website, freshbat.com. And I am also on TikTok as the strategic marketer.
Oh yeah, so, I too am on TikTok.
Yes, I think I follow you on TikTok. But I sort of dip in and out of it because I'm like an old person. But,
when I say I dip in and out of it, I think maybe 70% of my battery goes on TikTok.
Oh.
So I'm on it a lot.
Yeah, but are you actually like creating, or are you just watching?
I'm not dancing.
You're consuming.
But I consume a lot, but I do create every now and then as well.
That's good.
You know.
That's good.
Hello, thanks very much for joining us. We've learnt loads, and hopefully the audience has learnt loads. Listeners, you can listen to all the other podcasts wherever you get your podcast injection from. We're also on YouTube. Follow me on LinkedIn as well, Gary Gumbel and Capital Content. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.